Okay, Leland Best of Best at Last here to go over one of the features here at Pure Leverage that it seems a lot of people are a little confused about, so I thought I'd try to whip this video together to help people out. Here we are in the back office of Pure Leverage for the Level 1 Marketing Suite, and we're looking at the conference room. I myself had an issue with this conference room when we first started up. Couldn't figure out how to log in and use the features that were available to us for recording and screen capturing and presentation mode. So once I figured out what it was that I was doing wrong, I figured I'd share this with the rest of you folks. So as an overview, which is where I'm at now on the menu tab, you see I have 3 active moderators. Normally when you first get here you may find that you have 0. You may have 1, depending on whether or not you took the time to set one up yet or not. We do only have 1 room available in Pure Leverage, which contains enough to hold 100 folks, so keep that in mind. You won't be able to switch between rooms unless of course you're a GVO client and do have other access to other rooms. Of course my personal room link is here. And what we find when we first click on this link, which seems to be what everybody assumes to do right away, and of course is what I assumed needed to be done, was to pick on that link to open the conference room. Now, as you can see, you come up here to a username and you can select whether or not you're a moderator. The first thing I did was I was under the assumption that all you had to do was type in that you were a moderator. You didn't necessarily need a password, and you hit OK. What that does is it does get you into the conference room. However, what you'll find is that none of the features for the conference room presentation mode are available. You're simply a participant. You can talk now and present yourself and go on video, and I'm not going to click on these links that are going to allow me to turn on the Adobe video formatting. That does cause problems when recording the windows, so I'm not going to go through that right now. But what the main point of this is the setting up that you can do for your Facebook and Twitter links, links to your web page, settings of course, which here are the features I'm speaking of, which allow your camera and stuff to go live. This is something I don't want to do right now, which I'll probably go ahead and lock into right away. We're going to cancel out of that. But that is where you would turn on your video camera and your sound, so I'm going to try to avoid that feature for now. So obviously this doesn't get me to the point that I need. The only sharing I have allowable is if I wanted to look at a file that someone had uploaded, and that doesn't do me any good for presentation. So where would the issue be? Let's find out. If we leave the conference room and close out this window, go back to the Pure Leverage conference room area, we'll go to the room settings, and this should be one of the first things you set up on Pure Leverage for your conference room. The default will be a typical number link, as you saw on the overview here. Down at the bottom of the page you'll see there's 2 links actually. There's one with just a conference and a number, and one with a conference and the name of my company. Now the reason that name is there is because in the room settings I actually came over here, gave the room a name, which you saw when I was logged into the room at the top of the conference room banner bar, and you can see where that's now attached to and assigned to the number that originates for the conference room that you've been given. I've added an alias also, which re-identifies the URL link to add where the word my room is here, the alias Best at Last. So now when I give somebody a link, I don't have to give them a link with just a number. I can give them a link with whatever I want to put in here. I could put my meeting room or my room like they have here, or the name of your company, whichever is more appropriate for your needs. Of course, if you want to track users and access to your site conference room, you can add in the Google Analytics ID, which most of you should be aware of. You can add a password to the room, which gives it some privacy, and even give it a little bit of a description that people will see when they come to your conference room. So you can here at this point disable some of the properties, the text chats, the videos, the audios, and even as much or go as far as any particular guests that could be disallowed file sharing or flags in the member list area. So this is where you would add in the URL to your website. This allows for that link at the top of the conference room page that I showed you, where it will say whatever you have up here as your room name. When they pick on that link, it's actually going to take them to whatever URL you have listed here. So that gives them access to go while they're in the conference room to your website and see what you're all about. You can also add the Facebook and Twitter feeds here. I haven't gotten the Facebook feed to work recently, and I haven't checked it again the last couple days, but the Twitter feed obviously is working, so it takes the information that you give Joel at the beginning of the setup for Peer Leverage and adds those buttons into the conference room for people to access your accounts. So once we save this information, we would go the band list, of course, is kind of obvious. That's just where you could add in IP addresses for folks that you don't want visiting your room if you happen to know those numbers. Otherwise, that's not really a very necessary prescription here to be dealing with. But here's the important part, and that is the room moderators. And of course, I will be changing the username and passwords on these accounts right away. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and disable a couple of these so there's no concern over what's going on with these moderators. Of course, my wife and I have our own moderator accounts, so that if she wants to work in the background while I'm doing a presentation, she has access to control the features of the users in the conference room while I'm busy doing my thing. So that's always a good thing to have a couple of moderators available. That way I don't have to be doing all the button pushing, and my wife can step in and take control while I'm doing the presentations. Again, here it's pretty straightforward. If you want to add a new moderator, once you do so, you're going to be assigned a new username and a new password. You can regenerate these passwords, which is what I'm going to do after I do this presentation, so that obviously nobody can get my passwords off of the video you're watching now. You would enter then, of course, a new user, a last name, and well, actually we'll just do this. We'll do test last, and an email address, which you would be required to have. And in this case, I'm not going to go through all these features, but you can see where you would assign them to a room if you have more than one room. If you're a GVO customer, you may have more than one. Being a Pure Leverage only customer, I only have the one room assigned. So you can disable certain features if you want to, say, add a moderator that only has access to certain abilities and changes within the room itself. Say they don't have access to your whiteboards or uploading presentations, but can lock members or kick people out of the room for you if they're getting out of hand. You can disable certain features allowed to them. So once we save that, then we've got back to the moderators within the room. You'll have a list. Now the big key here, folks, is to take this username and this password, and let me go back real quick. I'm going to go back to my overview, and I've actually assigned this link to another URL with my domain name that I can simply present to people without having to use this loginmeetcheap.com conference /URL. I basically have one that I have a couple that I use for different purposes, but this is where you could literally assign this URL within your domain host to link to another domain name, and simply say, well, okay, here, go to meetme@bestatLast.com, and you'll be able to find my conference room, and that way you don't have to give them this long URL. So in this case, for the presentation, I'm just going to use the one that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and paste, whoops, wrong paste. I'm going to go ahead and go to the conference room through the link, and when I get there, instead of simply connecting with my name this time, I'm going to enter in my moderator name and my moderator password, which I'm going to get from my moderator list. And of course, these have to be exact because there's no way to change these. These are system generated usernames and passwords, so you really have no control over what numbers and features you're going to get, but those are what you have to use. So now when I connect, you can see a much different perspective. You're going to see now I have room settings available where I can literally disable certain features like the talk now buttons for guests, only the moderators. This is where Joel and Mark set up for us not being able to text on the chat screen while they're giving a presentation. They can lock people from the room at that point, which is a good feature to have when you're trying to keep people from being distracted by the chat text. You can also set up a lock like they do, which allows you to lock the conference room for a period of time, so that all you see is a ticker that shows a countdown to when the next conference would take place. So you can customize this and make it, say, 12 hours ahead into the future that your next conference is going to take place, or even 24 hours ahead. And when somebody comes to log in, and this of course means that the conference room has to be running for this feature to work. But if somebody were to go to your link, they would see that the room is on lockdown and that it will be, say, 6 more hours until the next conference starts. So all you need to do is click lock your room. You can also put in a little comment here that describes what it is you do and why and when the next event will take place at, say, 10 a.m. on Saturday or whichever. Come on, make sure you come on back and see us then. And you can lock it for simply new members only, so that regular members who are already part of Pure Leverage can simply log in and get into your room. So that's a neat little feature. And of course the settings again here is for the video and audio, but this is where this room really takes off and explodes. Of course now we have our record button, but this is where, as I mentioned before, you can click on the browser, and the first thing it's going to do is present your default URL that you put into the back office. And as you can see here, my website pops up on the screen and shows you exactly what my website would look like at that time. Now you can browse through some of these aspects. I mean, it's just like a normal browser, folks. This is just a LinkedIn browser through the software package, and allows you control to be able to show people your website and give them access to your page while you're right there in the conference room. I think that's just a wonderful feature. It puts your chat room over here in the corner. Of course, here you have your presentation mode, where you can go ahead and upload a full PowerPoint presentation file. You can browse your computer to get that file. Now on this particular computer I don't have any PowerPoint presentations set up that I could upload so that people could see it, but I'm just going to give you that idea so that you can see where it is you can upload these files. And of course from there we have the whiteboard. The whiteboard feature is really kind of cool. I'm intending on getting myself like a pen tablet so that I can use this feature a little better. Now the way you start that is you click on the Start Drawing button, and what this allows you to do is scribble with your pen however you want, and it creates objects actually from each item that you draw that can be moved around the screen, which is really cool. And then of course you have features like a box that you can image in. You can actually even put a fill color in these boxes that allow you to change the style. So you know, here we have the ability to create some really cool graphics on the fly. You know, that's the line for the parameter, or the perimeter of the line, and then of course the fill box. And of course these are movable also. You have also different shapes and different styles of lines, and you know, this is a full straight line versus just, that's a vector graphic rather than just a free-flowing line. And allows you to do it with 2 arrows on the end or only 1 arrow on the end, so that you can point to features on your site, which is really cool. I mean, I think these things are just, Joel has gone overboard with the creation of these graphic tools. These are things that are really on an entirely different level for presentation purposes, folks. So you know, you can hide your cursor so that people don't get confused at what you're pointing at. You know, and when you do that, it basically no one will be able to see your little hand mouse going around. And then of course you can even save the pictures for later use, so that if you do create an awesome graphic while you're giving a, you know, on-the-fly presentation, you have the ability to save that stuff for later. You can erase the board and add text if you'd like, also, just like any other feature-rich graphics program. So that kind of covers that. But what's really cool here is you can create pages as you go. So if I create a line on this page that's pointing to a line of text or a description, and I've given a synopsis of what this storyline is about, then I can say, okay, and the next thing we want to talk about, and you can see here it says page 2 of 2. So now we're on the second page. Now we can literally go back and find that page 1 of 2 again is still there. It has been saved in the system. It's still live, of course, and would need to be saved out with the save feature to have a hard copy. But it's still there for you to go back and refer to during your presentation if you need to. And then we have the video. This is one of my favorites, being a video production type guy. I'm really into creating videos like I'm doing right now, and this gives me the option to go out and browse, or even literally connect my YouTube feed to or a YouTube channel feed to this particular presentation, where I could go out and put together a whole playlist of videos, let's say, that I wanted to do in a presentation, and connect that YouTube page URL here and embed it, and go one video at a time if I wanted to. So that's a really neat feature, I think, for this. And you can of course clear the screen, or you can go right ahead and upload a selected file that you have found here. You would of course have to browse for it first, and then come over here and upload it to Joel's system to be allowed to play it right off of the server. And then of course we have the shared desktop. Now this might cause an issue if I click on this because it's a heavy draw on the system. I'm going to select on it, but in order to start sharing it, you literally have to come down here and decide what it is you want to share. So I'm not going to go there today, but I think once you guys play with it a little bit, you'll discover this is what's normally used to do videos like this when you're screen sharing in a conference, of course, but that's not the method I'm using to present this video. Then we have the 4X. I'm not sure why they titled it 4X, but I think I get an idea. It's basically a duplex mode that allows you to either go into audio only or audio and video. So basically you can make this just a vocal conference room where no one sees each other's faces over in the current speaker windows, and there's no video. I mean, if you have some shy folks in your conference and they just don't want to present this material in a video format where they see your person talking, that's fine. You can just simply go to audio only, and then there'll be no mistake that there will be no audio taken. And of course the record feature, like I said, folks, this does require a plugin. So once you first pick on it for your initial recording, this is the message you're going to get. You do not have the recording desktop sharing added on the installed conference, so do you want to install it now? Simply say yes, and it'll ask you. And if you do have a plugin blocker or a pop-up blocker established on your browser, you may be asked to confirm and allow the pop-up so that this can get installed. But I believe it's just the Adobe plugin feature pops up and asks you if you want to install this ActiveX program. So you'll have to allow for that in order to do any recordings. And I haven't actually recorded one yet, so I can't tell you where the file's stored. I'm sure it's simply stored on the server or the network, or it may even allow you to give a path as to where that file is saved on your computer. So, and of course your recording volume and mic and speaker sound levels are here, along with whether or not you want to turn off the video or audio streams to the folks outside. So I hope that clears up a lot of issues people have been having trying to figure out how to get to these features on the conference room at Pure Leverage. I hope this has been a help for all those who have had this problem. I know I was a little confused at the beginning, and even when I talked to support, they, I believe, felt that all you had to do was enter a name to enter the conference room, but I think they felt that these features would be visible. And it was a bit of confusing when I was in a live chat with support. They said, well, I see all the features over here, and I said, well, I don't. And when I sent him a screenshot, I think he realized that he needed to tell me that I had to log in with my moderator username and password. So good luck to all you folks out there on your new endeavors with Pure Leverage. I hope your conferences turn out to be great and profiting. I'm going to let you go with that, and we will see you on the inside at Pure Leverage. This again is Leland Best at Best at Last. Take care.